We are here on the defendant's objection to the referee recommendation. So, Ms. McClure, would you like to go first?
Yes, please.
Okay. Would you call your first witness, please?
Yes, I'll call Joel Taylor.
All right. Mr. Taylor, would you raise your right hand? Would you state your name for the record?
Joel Jeremiah Taylor.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, if you'll recall in our previous evidentiary hearing, you testified that you were working Sundays only for a family. Was that a correct recollection of your testimony?
That was correct.
Okay. And are you still doing that?
I am not working. I haven't been working for them for a while on the Sundays. I still am work for the family doing events they need. They have events all the time. But no, that was for Lori was going through chemo she had breast cancer, and the mother, Joan Secchia, wanted them to have a private chef to alleviate them needing to cook for themselves. And she's done with chemo. And they've been busy traveling and doing stuff. And I have not been working for them every week.
Okay, so you're still working for that family doing events?
Correct.
Okay. And how else are you employed?
Right now, just my events and consulting business.
Okay, so the consulting business is not something that you testified about. Can you tell what that is?
It's the same thing. I just changed the name.
Okay, so I'm not aware that there was a name previously. So can you tell me what was the previous name?
Smitten Chef.
And you say this is a consulting business?
No, that was the previous name. Now it's Joel Taylor Events and Consulting.
Okay, so what are you a consultant about?
Restaurant menus, restaurant procedures, like how a kitchen's set up.
So you're self-employed and you have your own business and that's your only source of income?
Well, I mean, I also flipped one house with Mark Secchi and I was 1099 for that.
What year did you receive a 1099 for that?
I haven't received it yet. It'll be coming this year.
Okay, so you did provide testimony about this back in 2023. So you're saying all that work was done in 2023 and you haven't received a 1099, or are you saying you did the work in 2024?
No, I'm saying the house didn't sell then, so I didn't receive any money yet.
Okay, so has the house sold now?
Correct.
So you'll be getting a 1099 for 2024, but you haven't gotten that yet?
I'll be getting a 1099 at the end of this year because I was paid this spring.
Okay, how much were you paid?
Do I have to tell you that?
Yes, you do.
I do.
Yes.
$35,000.
Okay, and how much do you earn through, well, let me back up a second. When did you change the name from Smitten Chef to Joel Taylor Events and Consulting?
Like a few months ago.
Is that an LLC or a corporation or is it sole proprietorship?
Let's see.
And do you have a separate bank account for the funds you received through the LLC?
Not yet. I'm setting up things with my account still. Right now, it's my personal account.
All right. How often do you do work with through Joel Taylor Events and Consulting?
It just depends. I mean, sometimes once, like I didn't do work the whole time anytime I have Ronan. So far, I haven't done any work, but I have 3 events this week.
So you have Ronan with you right now, correct?
No, he's at school.
But he's under your care in Michigan, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you have 3 events scheduled for this week.
Correct.
What dates are those events?
Sorry, not this week. I have 1 event this week and it's Wednesday. 2 events next week. I have an event this Thursday, next Saturday.
I'm confused because you said this Wednesday and then you said
No,
this.
I was wrong. Let me grab my calendar. Sorry, it gets confusing. I have an event this Thursday, the 15th. I have an event the 22nd. I have an event the 24th. I have an event September 13th and an event September 17th.
Okay. And can you tell me what types of events these are?
I've been doing a lot of political parties. I did a party for Paul Hudson. Who's the other guy?
So
Greg Molnar.
Yeah, I don't care about their names, but sorry, not that I don't care, but I'm more interested in what work are you actually doing? What does the schedule look like? What are you preparing?
Okay, so the political parties, it's usually 4 o'clock to 6:30. They're fundraising, and I prepare food and provide a bartender. And all my events are, I mean, it starts with food, and then I do other things if they need it.
So they've been late afternoon, early evening so far.
4 to 6:30.
Okay. So when you say they're not, when you have Ronan, because Ronan's in school, he's
No, no,
actually out of school, right?
No, I'm not saying there when I don't have Ronan. I'm saying when I had Ronan for the 20 days so far this summer, I didn't work. That's what I said.
All right, how much do you get paid for these events?
It all depends.
Okay, how much?
I mean,
do
I
you
give out,
getting
I give
paid
out,
for the one
I
this
give like,
Thursday?
I don't
You
know.
can't talk at the same time.
Sorry.
The person that has to type the transcript is gonna kill me.
Sorry. I mean, like, I don't know what you want me to say. The estimates are different for every event I do. It depends on the event.
Okay, so.
Like they're by the piece. It's like between $3 and $5 per piece, and it depends on how many people there are. Like, I don't know what you want me to say.
Yeah, the reason that we're not supposed to talk over each other is that you missed my specific
Gotcha.
question. I asked you, how much are you getting paid for the event you're doing this Thursday?
I'm not sure. I do up an estimate, and then it depends on how much. There's an estimate with an estimated cost, and it depends on how much they go through and how long I'm actually there, which I don't know until afterwards. I give it, like I said, I give an estimate, and then I send a final invoice.
So the amount of time you're there could be later than you estimated, could be earlier.
Correct. You have to be flexible in the service industry. So yeah, if they want something earlier, they get it. If they want the party to run later, they get it.
Right. Who's going to be providing care for Ronan while you're at this event?
His grandmother.
All right.
And his sister will be here. She doesn't start school till next week.
Okay. All right. And during our previous evidentiary hearings, you were living at the duplex that you had previously shared with Ms. Miller. Is it true that you have since moved?
Correct.
When did you move?
Don't recall exactly.
Was it around December 25th of 2023?
Around there, but I believe it was February. I still had stuff there, and I was pretty much staying here because I didn't like being there.
All right, so when you say pretty much staying here, where is here? Where are you living now?
2137 Waterbury, Kentwood, Michigan. It's like a mile and a half from where I was staying. Like a mile, actually.
Okay, and who else lives there?
My mother and Olivia. She doesn't live here full time, but she has a room, and when I have her, she's here.
And Olivia is Ronan's older half sister, correct?
Older sister, correct.
But her mother is not Kristen Miller, correct?
Obviously.
How old is Olivia now?
16, 17, sorry.
All right, and why did you move in with your mother?
Better situation and spending all my money on legal fees. I want to save to get a home in Rockford, so I would like to move to Rockford for Ronan to go to school there. And I'm paying child support to 2 people and paying rent on my own and legal, like an insane amount of legal fees. And I have help here. It's a 4-bedroom home that's beautiful. And my father passed away, doesn't live here anymore. So my mom was living here by herself. And it's a much better situation, much nicer home. And I have help. And I'm able to save money, actually.
What school district is Ronan enrolled in right now?
Kentwood.
And did you discuss that school district choice with Ms. Miller?
I brought up the school districts, and she was difficult about it and didn't really. I'm sure you have the app closed messages, but she wanted me to have him go to Rockford, and I can't drive him to Rockford every day. That's like 45 minutes. So on the motion, though, it says that Ronan is to go to school in the school district I live in, and this is the school district I live in, and he's actually in Explorer Elementary School, which is a school my sister teaches at, and it's actually Caledonia, and it's a very good school.
So it's in the address is in Caledonia, but it's within the Kentwood School District?
Exactly.
Okay, and it's the elementary school that's in your neighborhood, it's not a school of choice at Kentwood?
What do you mean? It's
Well,
not, so no,
I'll ask my question again. Are there different elementary schools within Kentwood School District?
yes,
Okay, and is Explorer Elementary the elementary school that's in your neighborhood where your address would be assigned to go to that elementary school?
no, it is not.
Okay, so were there different options of elementary school within Kentwood School District that you could have chosen?
Yes,
And did you discuss those options with Ms. Miller?
I did not.
Have you made any progress on obtaining your driver's license?
Yes, I'm waiting to have an appeal.
So you made an application and it was denied?
What do you mean I made an application?
Well,
No, there's a long waiting list. We're waiting to get a hearing.
Okay, so you
My
mentioned
lawyer,
an
Martin
appeal.
Mead.
So you
Sorry,
mentioned an appeal. What does that reference?
I misspoke.
So tell me where you are in the process then?
I'm waiting to start a hearing. Martin Mead has my driving record and I'm waiting to hear back from him. I'm very early in it.
So Martin Mead is an attorney?
Correct,
Okay, and that's another one of the arenas of legal fees that you have?
correct.
Have you paid his fee for the work you're asking him to do?
Yes,
In one of your messages regarding your, well, let me ask you this. Did you tell Ms. Miller when you moved?
no, I didn't feel it was necessary. She didn't tell me when she moved.
Did you tell Ronan when you moved?
I don't believe I did. I mean, yeah, I did.
When you were living at the previous duplex, did Ronan actually stay with your mom when he was in Michigan?
We both did because in the motion we had with the mediation, that was requested. But you knew that.
Mr. Taylor, I need you to answer her questions because this is new to me. All
Okay,
right.
sorry. Yes, because in the mediations that we all had and were in, they requested that I stay at my mom's.
You're referring to the temporary order that we agreed on after mediation that your parenting time would be supervised by your mother?
Yes, I am. That was the only way I could get you guys to agree to let me see my son, if you remember.
What did you mean, when you told Ms. Miller that your mom can't live at the home without you?
I don't recall saying that.
Okay. Is your mom, physically,
What does that have to do with anything?
Mr. Taylor,
But no,
if there, hold on,
no,
hold on. Stop talking for a moment and listen, okay? If there's an objection, if there's a problem with the question that Ms. McClure asks, your attorney will object based on the
okay.
rules of evidence, okay? It's not for you to do that, all right?
Sorry,
Yes,
sorry,
no,
Ronan.
I don't know, this is cross-examination essentially, all right?
No,
Ms.
she's
McClure.
not.
okay, can you describe what health or physical disability she has?
None. She's overweight. That's it.
Okay, because I asked you if she was, well, I'm sorry, when I said is she physically fit, I just meant is she physically capable of moving around and being.
Oh, yes. Sorry. That's not what I took it as. How you asked it. Sorry.
Just sorry, I just to go back a second. When did you stop working for the Secchia family every Sunday?
Sorry, I need to plug my phone in. I can look it up. I'm not sure the exact date. I started working like once a month. Like as she got better, they're a busy family that travels a lot. I'm not sure on the exact date. I really am not.
Can you give me an estimate?
No, I can't. I can look it up real quick.
I'm going to object to that, Your Honor. I think he's testifying to best visibility.
I really don't recall. Like I started doing it sometimes once a month, sometimes twice a month, sometimes 3 times a month.
Maybe this will help. Was it after December 2023?
I'm not sure.
All right. Do you have any plans to create a more consistent schedule in the future?
Absolutely not. Well, I mean, I would obviously want to get more work, but I'm able to spend a large amount of time with my son. So it's been fantastic. I have not had to work once while I've had him. I scheduled all my events were for a while he was with Kristen the past 2 times.
Do you think you'll be able to continue to do that and still make enough money to pay attorney fees and to live and to help your mom if you
I've done
have
it.
been with you full time?
I've done it so far. Yes.
Wasn't Ronan with Ms. Miller last week, and this week is the first week he's gonna be with you full time, right?
Yes. I mean, according to like, no. Well, no, he's been visiting her for her 10 days for the month. I've had him full time since the court ordered me to have him.
So
He
you-
starts school today. Like that's the first time I've had him full time while he's going to school. You could say that, but no, I've had him.
So do you have control over when people schedule their events?
No.
And do you think long-term you can only schedule events when Ronan is with Ms. Miller?
I didn't say that at all. I said so far. You were asking like about the consistency of a schedule, and I said so far. Like
So,
I was able to do this.
so I'm asking for what your plans are for the future, though. How are you going to maintain an adequate income while having Ronan in your care and continuing to be self-employed in this manner?
I don't really understand. I mean, obviously, if people want events, I'm going to take them, but I have my mom, my sister, Ronan's sister. Like, I don't get. I mean, I work. Yeah, I'll be able to spend a lot of time with my son, and I'll still be able to, even if I schedule an event. It's not like I'm working a 9 to 5 or a bartending shift where I work 4 to 2 in the morning. Like that doesn't happen. My events are done for a late night, like if somebody does a sit down dinner, their sit down dinner starts at 7 o'clock at night. The longest it takes to do salad, entree, dessert is an hour. And then I'm home by 8:30, 9 o'clock latest. And since it's an election year, a bulk of my parties this year are 4 to 6 o'clock, 6:30.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Coletti?
So, Mr. Miller, you previously were doing some contract testing. Are you still doing that for employment?
Not right now. No, I'm not.
So, right now you're doing events and you were always have been employed as a chef?
Correct.
So the only change is that you're not doing the Sunday only for the Secchia family.
Correct. They've been traveling like literally every weekend. And they had dance competitions going on like every weekend. So, and have been very busy catching up. I'm guessing because when Lori was going through chemo and all that, like they didn't leave the house. So they're catching up on travel. I'm still supposed to be doing that on Sundays, but they haven't had it, like they haven't been home.
Okay. And with regard to your schedule then, are you able to do your prep and shopping when Ronan's in school?
Yes.
And so you're only going to be gone. If you have an event, you'll only be gone from after school, perhaps till like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Well, for the political parties, even earlier, those I'm done and home by like, it's very easy. Those are appetizer parties that are very easy. And then if it's a sit down meal, yes, 9 o'clock.
And you said your grandma, your sister, or your daughter will care for the child?
Correct.
And they are very bonded with this child?
Yes, very.
Now, when you were living at the duplex, you were on a month-to-month lease, correct?
Correct.
And do you recall your mother testifying that she wouldn't be able to maintain the home without your help?
Okay, now I get what you're saying. Yes, there's just a lot of work to be done. The yard, yes.
Okay, so your mom,
And I fix stuff, yes.
basically after your dad died, she relies on you.
Yes.
Okay, so when you moved in with your mom, was this an environment that Ronan was very familiar with?
Yes.
So it was really no transition to move in with your mom because you spent all your parenting time prior to the order at your mom's house.
Yes.
And when you said you didn't like living at your landlord's house, you weren't evicted, correct?
No, I was not.
Okay, you just gave notice and you moved out?
Correct.
And are you paying rent to your mother?
Yes.
And do you also have to pay for utilities?
Yes.
Okay. But it's less than what renting the duplex is?
Yes.
And
Significant.
when you said you're paying child support for 2 people, is that?
Sorry, I was. No, I was stating like as my bills surmounted, like as the time when this happened that they're talking about, like when I was deciding to move out, I was paying Kristen and Elizabeth.
Okay, that's Olivia's mother, Elizabeth.
Yeah, correct.
All right, and you want to save money now to get a home in Rockford?
I would like to. Yes, I really like Rockford School District, and I would like to do that. And that's my goal.
Okay, when referee's order says, as you noted, this, that the child will attend the school district in where you live. Is Explore a district where you live?
Yes,
Okay, and you were able to, get him enrolled there?
yes.
Does he have busing to and from school?
No, we will transport. My mom is going to transport him every day to school until I get my license.
Okay, and you said that Kristen won at Rockford, but that has a child ever attended school in Rockford?
No,
Have you ever lived in Rockford?
I did when Olivia was 4.
Okay, after Rome was born, have you or Kristen ever lived in Rockford?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and how far a distance is it from your home to Rockford?
To the school, I mean, anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, depending on traffic.
Okay, and you said you didn't discuss it with Kristen. Is there a reason you didn't discuss it with her?
No, I mean, I didn't know my son was going to school until where he was going to school, until he was already going to school. So I didn't know. I didn't just the way the communication has been. I didn't think I needed to. I tried telling her. I told her he was going to Brookwood originally, and I was not impressed with that school. And I was able to get him into Explorer. And then I did tell her like immediately when he like this all happened pretty recent. And I did tell her he was going to school there. I just didn't talk to her beforehand.
Okay,
No,
so
I
you
didn't.
did inform her.
I did inform her. I just didn't. Sorry, the way I thought. I
Did she,
didn't tell her ahead of time.
did she respond to that?
No, she did not.
Does she usually respond to your texts?
No, no. There's a lot of them that don't get responded to.
Okay, so she picks and chooses when she wants to respond to you?
Yes,
And your conversations with her, are they civil or business-like?
they're very businesslike now. It seems.
Because you're aware that she used to accuse you of being harassive in your text messages to her?
Yes, but yes,
Okay, you wouldn't, the text messages now, none are harassive?
no,
When you texted her about a cat that she picked up, got a kitten? And that, Your Honor, that's our exhibit A, and I would ask that it be marked as exhibit 1, or,
Well, we'll mark it as Exhibit A.
thank you.
All right. Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. You had a patient plan for Ronan? You took him to the doctor?
sorry, what?
You took him to the doctor for wheezing?
Yes, no, I did not. So that was so. No, I did. I take him to the doctor. I didn't take him to the doctor when he came back here, but I got his doctor record from the doctor's office in St. Louis.
Oh, this is from St. Louis, and so,
So that's when Kristen actually took him.
okay, and it says from the Missouri doctor, then it sounds like this is an allergy to cats. Should get rid of the cats before everyone is attached. Good cleaning at home after cat removed. That's what it says, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then you texted her about the cat,
Correct.
and that was June 27th?
I don't have it in front of me, but I believe so.
Okay, Your Honor, that's our exhibit B, and I would ask that it be marked and received as exhibit B.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Submitted.
You were asking her about medicine that he's taken taken as far as medicine.
Correct.
Were you concerned the fact that she got a kitten?
Yes, I'm very allergic, and Ronan's allergic to everything and has asthma. I have asthma, and like he came back and he was very sick.
So did you ask her to get rid of the cat?
Yes,
She claimed that Dr. Amos is old school and extremely biased against cats. Did you ever have a cat when you lived with her?
no,
Did she have a cat when she lived in Michigan?
no.
Do you know why she got a cat now?
Why do I think she got a cat? You want to know why I think she did?
Yes, what do you think?
I think she did to make my son like want like have something there that he doesn't want to leave.
Okay. And her texts to you about the cat were pretty dismissive, that she thinks the doctor's just biased against the cat.
Yes, 100. And you know, a doctor is a doctor. Like they're very intelligent. And why would they say that? That doesn't make any sense.
Okay. So she'd rather have his allergies flare up and have him on medication as opposed to getting rid of the cat.
Correct. He takes Allegra and he takes Allegra, Flonase every day.
And the Omnivore, does he take that just when he has an allergy flare up? Or a suit up, I'm sorry, asthma flare up?
Sorry, what? I'm sorry. What did you say?
Taylor wrote, I couldn't get Asmanex refill because everyone is out of stock. They wrote him a new prescription for Omnivore.
So that's an inhaler, and that's for asthma. He takes Asmanex every day, twice a day, and then albuterol if he needs it. But she told me he takes Allegra every day, and then Flonase. And Flonase is over the counter, but they were giving him that every day.
Do you have cats?
No,
Okay. Does he have to take the Flonase every day?
no, he does not.
Does he have to take the Allegra every day?
I have been giving it to him because that's what she was doing, but I don't understand why he needs to take it every day, and I don't think he does.
Does it help just with seasonal allergies in Michigan?
He seems much better after he's here for like a week. It
Have you-
seems like he doesn't need it, and I don't give it to him every day.
All right. Has he,
He does take the Asmanex every day, and then albuterol as needed because he does have asthma.
okay. Has he had to use his
Sorry.
asthma inhaler, his rescue inhaler? Since
He's never had to use that.
She asked you, I'd like to set up therapy to help him deal with the back and forth and changes. If you could figure something out, please let me know.
Correct.
Did you ask her about that, her request to set up therapy?
No, I didn't, and like that's on me. Like I didn't move and make him go back and forth, and he seems like it's tough right when he gets here. He keeps calling me Tim for a little bit, but he seems like he's good to me.
Okay. She testified about him having separation anxiety after when she first moved to Missouri and after he comes back from a visit with you. Have you observed
Okay.
separation anxiety?
So I'm not sure what the exact definition of that is, but he has a big issue with me leaving the room with him. Like he follows me around the house and doesn't want me to go away. He's afraid. He doesn't like me to leave the room or like not be around him.
And how long does that last?
If just he and I are here, like he wants to be around me all the time.
Okay, but does his wanting to be around you ease after a week of being with you? And he's okay doing other things?
He's okay doing other things if there's other things to do. Like he's fine if he's going to hang out with Sissy or going to hang out with his aunt. He's fine doing other stuff. But I'm just saying there's no like him going to hang out in his room by himself. Like he wants to be around me.
Okay, and with regard to school, did he have any problems being dropped off at school today?
I'm not sure. I wasn't. So his sister, his cousin, and my mom dropped him off because I had to be here this morning. He started school at 9 o'clock this morning, and I had to be on his Zoom.
Okay.
They didn't tell me anything. They took pictures of him on the playground, and my sister was there, and he was playing with other kids. They did FaceTime me real quick before that, and he seemed to be having a great time. He had already made like 4 friends because that's what he does.
Okay. With regard to, Kristen says a child is wetting the bed. Does he do that at your home?
No, he wet him like the other day. We were at the camper and he was outside riding his bike. So we have a camper up north, and we go up there, and he was riding his bike, and he ran in and he peed himself in like on the front of the toilet because he waited too long. He gets excited and waits. If he's doing something he really wants to do, he's 6.
Okay. And then and
He has wet. So he had wet the bed once, and that was because he's very thirsty. He's a very thirsty boy, and I was letting him drink a lot of fluids. So we had went to bed, but then I have him go to pee before bedtime and he doesn't want to bed.
Okay,
Like that's just about, it never happens. He's got a schedule. He goes pee, brushes his teeth, and then we go to bed and he doesn't pee.
any issues with him hiding or
Pardon me?
any issues with him hiding or being afraid?
No.
Any issues with,
Well, afraid. I mean, he doesn't want to be in his room dark. So we have like this little Pokemon light in his room, but that's like normal.
okay, any issues
know.
with, any issues with him using self-deprecating language, like saying that he's stupid or?
Not at all. Never.
Okay. And how has the adjustment for Ronan been since he came back to you in May?
I mean, it's like I never missed, like, I don't know. So it's like he wasn't gone. Like he's my son. I mean,
Okay, so it was an easy transition for him because he was bonded with you
yes,
and he was familiar with your mother's home?
yes. Been
And
fantastic.
have you, now you still, facilitate phone calls with his mom?
So yes, what the court ordered, that's what we do. And then I do ask him if he wants to call his mom. And if he does, he calls her.
Okay, so she's,
And I do that every day. I ask him. He doesn't want to call her every day, but I ask him every day.
okay, so he's able to call her and you're trying to facilitate a relationship?
Yes,
And then she had 10 days, June, 10 days, July, and 10 days in August for her parenting time?
correct.
And were you able to coordinate that with her?
Yes, but there is some concern. I felt like I didn't get enough notice on the days for travel. That wasn't listed in like she gave me her days already for in September.
She gets one weekend in September, correct?
Yes, so she already gave me the dates for that already because it was listed in the motion. But like things not listed in the motion, like I'm waiting until, I mean, you know what happened with the flights. At like I'll get like I need something needs to be set in the motion that tells the summertime, because waiting until like the week of or changing it, like that happens, and that makes it very difficult and
So
very hard to plan things.
do you need 30 days notice or by May 15th of every year of the date she wants to exercise?
30 days would be fantastic for the summer months. That would be fantastic.
And how much more hours do you need for her one weekend a month?
30 days is fine. Or even, I mean, it'd be during the school year, even less would be okay. In the summer, it's very difficult.
Okay, so when she exercises for one weekend a month, she'll be in Michigan, so notice is not as important.
Correct.
Okay. And what is your current income now that you're only doing events?
Boy, it's hard for me to get, like, I don't know how my income, like per what, like an average or like per year.
Per year, per month?
And does per year include the money from the house?
Well, that's a one time.
Yeah, that was a one time.
You're not flipping at houses anymore?
So my partner bought a giant event center / bar restaurant that he's redoing right now. So he's very involved in that. After he launches that, it will be continued.
Okay, but not,
Not now. I've been looking at houses, but not right now.
okay. So before your income, I believe, was $4,000 a month, and that was from your chefing on Sunday.
Yes.
Will it continue to be about 4,000 a month then, or do you think it'll be more or less?
I think it'll be a little less. I'm trying to look at what I've made this year. I have an invoicing.
Okay,
Actually, probably right around there.
okay. Do you believe it's in the child's best interest to remain in your care and custody?
Sorry, what was that?
Is it in
Sure.
Rowan's best interest to stay in your care and custody?
Yes.
And will you facilitate a relationship with his mother?
Yes. Yes. I sent her a picture of him going to his first day of school this morning. Like I've never, anything I like received, I had to ask for. And like, I don't feel like that. I automatically, like this morning.
Okay, with regard though to you understand that joint legal means you've got to consult and advise her with regard to major decisions?
Yes.
And you plan to do that?
Yes.
All right, has he been to the doctor or dentist since you got him back?
He went to the dentist. He had a cavity. He hasn't been to the doctor. He went,
June.
yes,
Okay, you did let.
yes. He went to the dentist. He had to have a filling.
Okay. And with regard to school, you didn't let her know because you were following the court order that says you get to pick that the child attends in your school district, correct?
Yeah, I did. I guess I didn't. The way I looked at the order, I didn't. It specifically says in there the son is to go to school in the school district the father resides in. So I just took that as he goes to school like where in the district I reside in. Explorer is a great school, and I did let her know. I just didn't talk to her beforehand. I had talked to her. I told her Brookwood originally, like when I was enrolling him before I enrolled him actually, and then I told her we were going to tour a charter school, Cross Creek and Excel, and he is on a waiting list there, but he's 32nd on the waiting list. So obviously that didn't happen. And then in the meantime, was able to get him into Explorer, and that's in my school district. I live in the school district I live in.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
All right, thank you. Ms. McClure.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, is there, busing from your house to and from Explorer Elementary?
No, ma'am.
And that's because it's not actually in your district, correct?
No, it's in Kentwood School District. I live by Brookwood. Like that's the one he would go to that he could be bused to, but it's in the school district I live in, Kentwood.
Okay, so who drives him to and from school? Or who's going to do that?
My mother. I already said that. My mother until I get a license, but yes. And then my sister
Okay.
my sister also teaches there. She's offered to bring him home also. If need be, that won't need be. I'll go with her to pick him up.
What is your parenting time schedule with Olivia?
It's very how like according to the courts every other weekend, but I have her most of the summer.
Okay.
And then like her mom's very flexible, and Olivia just got a car and her license, and
Okay. And where does Olivia go to school?
Rockford.
Okay. Do you ever have to get Olivia to or from Rockford schools?
No, ma'am.
But she has a driver's license and a vehicle now?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Sorry, yes. And a parking spot.
And Ms. Miller made you aware that she was supportive of Ronan being enrolled in Rockford School District, correct?
She requested that I send him to Rockford
Okay.
School District.
And you testified that you also want to move to Rockford because that's the school district you would prefer him to go to, correct?
Correct.
Did you consider enrolling him in Rockford and transporting him since he has to be transported anyway?
No, that's a long way to drive every day. No. And the school that he is at is a very good school.
All right, since when has Ronan had asthma? I mean, is the asthma new with the cat?
No, he's had asthma his whole life.
Okay, so you're saying that you think the cat made him sick?
I think it made him worse.
Okay, is it true that you texted or sent a message to Ms. Taylor on June 13th when he was at your house before he had even met the
Hold
cat?
on. Miss Miller? You said Miss Taylor.
I'm sorry, it's because I'm looking at your name on the sheet. Is it true that you texted Ms. Miller on June 13th when he was at your house before he met the cat that he sounds like he's getting sick?
Yes.
Okay, so is it true that he had cold or symptoms of some kind before he even encountered the cat?
He had like a stuffy nose. Yes.
Okay. Did you actually talk to the doctor that he saw about the allergy symptoms?
You can't call and talk to the doctor. You can talk to the people that work there, the nurse practitioner or the office lady. You can't call and talk to a doctor.
Did you try?
Yeah. Yes. Sorry. Yes.
And you're aware of Ronan's prescribed medications, correct?
Correct.
Did Ms. Miller send all those with him?
Yes, she did.
Did you send all of them back when he went back to her house?
I forgot to send them once. I
Read
forgot
it.
to I forgot to
Medicate.
send like the Ventolin, and I had checked with her, and I had told her that I forgot it to make sure she had, and she said she had an extra one.
No further questions.
Ms. Colletti?
Thank you. Just to clear up, if you're, don't have an event or you're not in court, would you go with your mom to drop off Ronan to school?
Yes, I'll be going to pick them up today.
Okay, and then you plan to.
And yes, I'll go drop them off every morning.
Okay, and you'll be there also for pickup? If you're,
Yes.
thank you. No other questions.
Ms. McClure?
I have no further questions.
All right, thank you. Any additional witnesses?
Yes, I'd like to call my client, Ms. Miller. Someone keeping track of my time. I have a rough estimate, but I would like to know if somebody has that.
I believe Ms. Van Noler is.
You've been doing a great job. You are split 30 minutes for the first witness, so you have half your time left. And Attorney Coletti, same for you. You are at 25 minutes, so you have an additional 5, but also a half an hour.
Oh,
35.
you're,
Mr. Taylor, you're waving your hand.
Sorry, I have to use the restroom.
All right,
Is that
we will,
permissible?
yep, we'll take a 5.
Ms. Miller, have you had any changes to your employment or housing since December of 2023? No. Okay. And are you still in the same apartment then? Yes. Okay. And have you re-signed the lease in that apartment? Yes. Okay. When does your current lease end?
My lease is from May to May 2025 is when this new lease would end.
Okay. All right, Mr. Taylor testified about his move. Do you know when he moved?
All I know is that I got a text from the landlord in December of 2023 telling me that he
I'm gonna
moved.
object, Your Honor, hearsay.
Ms. McClure?
I can rephrase, Your Honor.
Stay the objection.
So, so you believe he moved in December of 2023?
Yes,
No foundation,
I believe she can testify about her belief, Your Honor.
but I don't know how she came to that belief.
I can ask a follow-up question that won't.
All right, that would be helpful.
I believe there's a way to go about this. I think we're a little bit, anyway.
All right, okay.
Ms. Miller, did you receive a text message without telling me what it said? Did you receive a message from his landlord?
yes,
And
in
when was that?
December 2023.
Okay. And did you have a conversation or a message back and forth with Mr. Taylor about that move at any point?
No.
Okay. When did you, well, let's scratch that. You have since come to learn that Mr. Taylor lives with his mother again, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And is that a home that you had previously lived in with them?
yes,
Okay. And is the home adequate for Ronan?
yes,
Is the home in good condition?
yes.
All right. Mr. Taylor provided some, well, let me back up a second. You have in front of you the app close messages starting in December 19th of 2023 and ending just last week, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And did you generate this report from app close?
yes,
And does this contain all of the messages on app close between yourself and Mr. Taylor?
yes.
I asked that this be admitted. I think we're going with exhibit 1.
Ms. Colletti?
I have no objection, Your Honor, only the ones after December 19th.
That's been noted.
Right. And do you have any other, do you message with Mr. Taylor on any other platform other than app close at this point?
I don't. He did attempt to message me when he had issues with app close, and kept trying to get me to help him fix the issue when it was actually an issue on his end. But other than that, no, I do not communicate with him any other way.
Okay. And is app close what you use for phone calls between Mr. Taylor and Ronan when Ronan's with you, and yourself and Ronan when you were with Mr. Taylor.
Yes,
And so are those video calls reflected on this as well?
yes.
Okay. And just for clarification, the times that are listed on this report, are these in Central Time or Eastern Time?
They are in the time at Missouri, so it's from my phone when I was in Missouri, so.
So
it's
that's
all
Central Time,
Central
correct?
Time.
Okay, okay. All right. What times and days are Mr. Taylor's phone call with Ronan supposed to take place when Ronan is with you?
So now currently, due to the order, they are supposed to take place at 6 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday and Sundays.
Okay. And that's, you're referring to the order that was entered by the court, the referee recommended order that was entered in April of 2024, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And prior to that date, when were phone calls supposed to happen, if you remember?
yeah, so prior to that date, they were supposed to happen on weekdays in between 4:20 and 4:35. We decided on a 15-minute window. It was decided in mediation if we're outside of that window that technically we would forfeit our call, whoever it was. And then on Saturday and Sunday, it was supposed to be at 10 a.m. Central Time. I did allow for him to have those phone calls at those times every day after April 15th, when the order was put out, until Joel took Ronan for the summer on May 27th. So I still allowed for him to continue the old phone call times past the order being sent out.
Okay. And the two of you just had some discussion about the frequency of the phone calls, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Is it fair to say that both of you agreed that 2 phone calls a week is not frequent enough for either one of you?
yes, of
Okay.
course.
All right. Mr. Taylor had previously testified that he was consistent with his phone calls. Is that true?
That is not true.
Okay. And can you track?
I'm sorry,
that?
Ms. McClure, could you repeat that question? I didn't get part of it. I heard the answer, I didn't hear the question.
Yeah. I had stated that Mr. Taylor previously testified that he was consistent with his phone calls. Is that correct?
And no, that is not correct.
Okay. How many of his phone calls that he was entitled to under the prior to April 2024 schedule? What percentage of phone calls was he making?
Well, so he was making probably, I would say, around 50% at the scheduled and time within the 15-minute window. And I would say quite often, 50% of the time, it needed to be moved to a different time, or he would miss the time and call a little later. We would allow that quite often.
Okay. All right. And so when Ronan is with Mr. Taylor and you're entitled to phone calls, does Mr. Taylor always have him ready for that phone call?
No,
How often does he have him ready for the phone call?
0% of, sorry, maybe, let's say 25% of the time, not very often.
Did Mr. Taylor have an issue? Did he tell the court previously that it was a big problem for you to not have Ronan available for his phone calls?
Yes.
Okay.
That was,
And is Mr. Taylor allowing just the 2 phone calls a week or more?
just the 2 phone calls a week, except for I asked him last night if I would please be able to call Ronan after school today, because it is his first day of school, and he said he would allow that. Other than that, I offered when Ronan was with me that he could call him any day and gave him times. He said that he agrees that we need more than 2 phone calls. He, however, did not call any of those times and told me that we needed to have it in the court order in order to adjust the phone calls.
Okay. All right, so during this summer, you followed the referee recommended order regarding summer parenting time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And can you describe what it was like to coordinate the summer parenting time with Mr. Taylor?
Yes, so I am going to speak about our visit for July. Just because as it's been discussed, there wasn't a time frame where I was required to let him know ahead of time what the 10 days were. He was pressing me for my 10 days in July. I don't know things about work till, pretty close to the time that they happen. As Joel knows, that's how the industry works quite often, and he's testified to that. So he was pushing me for July. I explained to him what I wanted, which was a little confusing because the order says that I should have the 4th of July holiday, but I wanted different dates other than the 4th of July holiday. So I proposed if I could have him for 10 days later in July, but also possibly still have him for my holiday in July over July 4th, but in Michigan as a compromise. He agreed to that and said that was fine. Then when I picked Ronan up for my June visit, within 10 minutes after me picking Ronan up, he had messaged me and said, never mind, those dates don't work. I talked to my lawyer and she said, if you, he messaged me and said that if I were to have him for my holiday in Michigan for 4th of July, that I could no longer have those 10 days at the end of July. I was confused, I was upset, and I said, why? This is what we agreed on. He argued that we did not agree on that. So then I said that I wanted to do and then also he said that I was trying to make him go outside of the order by asking him to have those different dates that we had agreed on. And so because of that, I said, fine, I'll just stick with the, first 10 days of July, just exactly as the order states for the holiday. He took that, I think, as a personal attack and used that against me and kept saying I was being difficult. Later on throughout the summer, he said, well, the way you were to me in July, I'm not going to be flexible with you at all. And also, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. So it just was difficult, and to schedule things, I had felt before we had this order that anytime I schedule time, if I propose anything, it's never good enough. It always has to be adjusted, and I still continue to feel that way this summer scheduling parenting time with him.
Does the order state that you get to pick the dates?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, you both had to involve lawyers and consult the court in that concern, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you give, how much advance notice did you give Mr. Taylor of the dates you were selecting for August?
At least 2 weeks. I believe it was I think I gave him the dates for August while Ronan was here over his July visit. Or sorry, while Ronan was in St. Louis over his July visit. So the first week of July, I gave him my dates for August.
Okay. And what dates did you have Ronan in August?
Yeah, it was August 5th until August 16th. Just, he allowed me to have him an extra day because he had an event on the 15th. So he picked Ronan up on the 16th instead of the 15th, which is when he would have usually picked him up.
Okay. Is it fair to say that we were all a little bit confused by some of the wording in the language? I'm sorry, some of the wording of the language in that order.
Yes, prior to summer starting, so the Thursday before the Monday that Ronan picked him. The Thursday of May before Joel had picked Ronan up, Ronan ended school on Friday, and then Joel came to pick him up on Monday. I had found out that Thursday that I would not have Ronan for the summer. Both parties, myself and Joel, assumed that I had Ronan for the summer and that Joel was to have Ronan for 10 days under my decision. So that was very confusing and also a very last minute decision, last minute for me, last minute for Ronan as well. Ronan was very upset when he found out last minute that he wouldn't be in St. Louis for the summer.
All right, let me ask you about, Ronan's asthma and the sort of allergy issues that came up this summer. Let me start with this. Why did you get a cat?
Yeah, I honestly, we got 2 kittens. We were planning on just one, we got 2. It was incredibly hard for me at home not having Ronan there. In Michigan and then in St. Louis, I've always had Ronan in my home full-time at night, and as a missing body there, and it was very lonely and very hard for me. So we made the decision to get the kittens while Ronan, shortly after Ronan left, so that I had something to kind of put my nurturing side into, to take care of, and just to kind of distract myself from Ronan not being there.
And when you say we, who's we?
My boyfriend and I.
Your boyfriend, Tim. And does he live with you?
He now lives with me, yes.
And do Tim and Ronan get along?
Yes, Ronan adores Tim. They get along better than I've ever seen anyone get along with Ronan. And yes, they get along very well.
All right. And do you have any, before you got the cats, did you have any prior information that Ronan was allergic to cats?
I did not.
Okay. Do you agree with Mr. Taylor's seeming assumption that because he's allergic to cats, Ronan is likely to be allergic to cats? Does that?
Not necessarily. I have allergies such as a severe allergy to grass, and I don't think that Ronan is severely allergic to grass as well. That could be a possibility, but it's not a tried and true thing. I actually didn't know Joel was allergic to cats, so I didn't know to anticipate that Ronan would be allergic to the cats.
Okay, so this is something you learned this morning?
Well, I learned it over messages when he texted me, when we had been discussing Ronan's asthma and his allergies. I had learned that Joel was very allergic to cats. That's the first time I knew that.
Okay, and so did you tell me about Ronan's allergy symptoms when he came back to your house and met the cat?
Yeah, so it is to be noted that Joel did let me know he felt like he was getting sick shortly before I received Ronan back. He seemed sick in the car on the way from Michigan to Grand Rapids already, but the symptoms did get worse as Ronan stayed at our house that week, those 10 days, because his asthma seemed to be getting worse and none of his normal medications were working. I made a doctor's appointment. I also did not have in my possession Ronan's daily maintenance asthma medication, Asthmanex, because Joel failed to send that back with him. I also found out that Joel wasn't giving him his daily allergy medication that the doctor recommended he be on the year before.
I don't know how she could testify to that without any personal knowledge.
Personal knowledge of what?
I'm objecting about Joel not giving the daily medicine unless there's no.
Ma'am, your attorney has to respond to objections, okay? Whenever there's an objection by any attorney, the parties or the witnesses should just wait for the court to rule, okay? Ms. McClure.
I think she can testify about whether, for example, there were not enough doses missing. And certainly she can testify, the child knows whether he took the medication or not. She doesn't have to provide hearsay testimony to testify about whether the medication was taken or not. Doesn't require hearsay.
Your Honor, I believe she can only testify that she didn't receive the Asthmanex from Joel, but I don't think she can testify whether Joel was giving the daily allergy meds.
That she can't without a foundation.
Right. Did you discuss this issue with Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And did he tell you whether he had been giving Ronan that medication or not?
Yeah. Yes.
Did he tell you that he had not been giving Ronan the medication?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how you knew that Ronan was not taking it?
Yes.
Okay. And is that medication something that builds up in your system at all?
I
If you don't know, that's fine.
don't know.
Okay. So what is the asthma next, the prescription that you didn't receive back with Ronan? What symptoms or is that supposed to address, or what is that supposed to do?
So he is supposed to take that daily. It's a maintenance asthma medication. So it's something that they take daily all the time just to keep their asthma at bay, and keep it controlled. I personally take Advair daily for my asthma, that's how I know how important it is and also what it is.
Okay. And so did you have like a backup prescription for the Asthma that you could give to him?
I didn't. It's a really hard prescription to fill, but it's the one that the doctor said and that we have experience firsthand works best for his age. So I guess they stopped carrying in the pharmacies another one that used to be readily available. So now we get Asthma, and it takes at least a week to fill that prescription. From Walgreens, CVS, we've tried it from different pharmacies. It's just a hard prescription to fill. So you just have to be proactive about it and make sure you have an extra one on hand, which I am doing currently.
All right. So when you took Ronan to the doctor, what did the doctor recommend?
The doctor did say it sounds like cat allergies, and she did recommend that we get rid of our cats before anyone gets attached. She also did not give me a chance to give her any extra back about the cats or anything. She also ignored some other things that I had tried to bring up about Ronan. She shushed me because she said she could only handle one issue at a time. And she ignored this rash that Ronan had on his body also at the same time. I think he had a virus at that time because a few days later, over 4th of July, he ended up having a fever.
And was this doctor that you took him to, was this a normal primary care physician?
It's not. His primary care physician was out for the day, or out for the week, so we had to make an appointment with that doctor. Dr. Remus is the doctor we saw. His normal primary care physician or pediatrician is Dr. Smith.
So he recommended getting rid of the cats, basically in case it was a cat allergy, he thought it wasn't a good idea to get attached.
Yes.
And did he make a referral to an allergist?
So I actually found out after the last visit that Ronan had with the doctor, which was since that visit. So that visit was July 26th, 27th. He saw the physician again on August 14th. I had asked them to provide me with information that was actually the evidence submitted in court that Joel had that I had never seen. And I asked how I could see that information. And I had found out that Joel had changed the primary contact info for the doctor in St. Louis to his information. So I never received.
I'm gonna object, Your Honor, again, this is hearsay. I don't know how she could know whether he changed it or not. And quite frankly, any portal should be available to either parent.
Ms. McClure?
I think she can testify about what she found out from her doctor's office. If she found out that the information had been changed, she can testify about that.
I don't know if she's making an assumption or if this is something she was informed.
I mean, I can ask follow-up questions.
Please do.
All right, so you found out that the contact information was different?
So
I'm asking yes or no
yes.
question. Okay. And did you change the information?
No.
Okay. And so are you assuming that Mr. Taylor did it because you did not do it?
I'm actually not assuming. There's a thread and it says his number changed primary contact info to his number.
Okay.
I saw it.
Okay, so you can see that in the patient portal? For
Yes.
Ronan? Okay. Did he tell you that he was doing that?
No.
Okay. All right, so you found that information out. Was a referral to an allergist in either St. Louis or Michigan ever made?
So during that time, there was a referral that I did not see. I believe it's an allergist in St. Louis. Since then, since his last visit, because that's when I found out there was a referral, they have made a new referral to an allergist in St. Louis. It seems to be a different doctor. I'm not sure if it's the same doctor at a different practice or if they're using my insurance versus Joel's insurance for Ronan. But they have made 2 referrals now that I have seen, but did not see at the time.
All right. So there's a referral out there, but obviously things are in flux. So Ronan, I take it Ronan has not seen an allergist yet.
No.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
difficult to make an appointment since, in Michigan, and that would be up
Sure.
to Joel now.
Okay. Would you object to Joel seeing an allergist here in Michigan?
No, not at all.
Okay. And so Ronan was with you again in August, and are the cats still there?
Yes,
Okay. Did he have an issue with the cats in August?
no,
In your opinion, was Mr. Taylor respectful with you in his communications about this issue?
no.
How have your discussions with Mr. Taylor about issues regarding Ronan? How have those discussions changed, if at all, since the April 2024 order was issued?
Yes and no. It seemed like he was being trying to mind his P's and Q's and being polite while we were in the first round of court. And since the order has been put out, the error of control has been much more evident. It's more him just telling me what to do, and instead of him being a little nicer and gentler about things. For example, telling me what to do with the Kindle, telling me what to do with Ronan's hair, just direct commands from him, which for a minute they stopped. Previously, I had gotten them before we started mediation and everything.
And did Mr. about the hair, did Mr. Taylor tell you who can and can't cut Ronan's hair?
Yes,
Okay, what did he tell you?
he said, don't ever let Tim cut my son's hair.
And
And he also told me Ronan looks terrible.
can you tell me about that haircut that Tim gave Ronan?
Tim often cuts Ronan's hair, either Tim or my friend Ian, who's a barber. They usually cut Ronan's hair at our apartment. Ronan, we usually like to keep Ronan's hair longer. I like it longer. Everyone likes it longer. It looks cute like that. Ronan really wanted a short haircut. He wanted a short, spiky haircut.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Mr. Taylor, you are not to be smoking. You should be sitting down. The camera should not be moving all over the place. It's very distracting. Again, you're in a courtroom. It may be on Zoom, but you're in a courtroom. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ronan wanted a short, spiky haircut. I didn't care for it either, but that's what he wanted, and that's the haircut typically.
Okay, did Ronan like the haircut?
He loved it.
Okay. And if Ronan wants or needs a haircut and he's with Mr. Taylor, do you object to Mr. Taylor getting his haircut where he wants to get his haircut?
Not at all.
All right. Tell us about, just since December 2023, what is Ronan like, when leading up to going to Mr. Taylor's house and when he gets back from, Mr. Taylor's house?
Okay, so starting with leading up to going to Mr. Taylor's house, I can tell, I know my son very well. I can tell that he's very anxious. Days leading up to seeing Joel and going to Joel, I try to prepare him as much as I can. I ask him what he'd like to pack, things he likes to take. He acts out a little bit leading up to going to see Joel. I think that's his way of expressing his anxiety as a 6-year-old. He doesn't have words for all of the emotions that he has, and he is still learning healthy ways to express all of those things. So I can tell that, and then he also usually puts up a fight about going to see Joel. I'm not denying that Ronan wants to see his dad. He does, and we talk about that. But he does express that he wants to stay here with me, and that he likes being here with me, and that he doesn't want to go. He also does not like the travel. So he does express that he hates the travel back and forth. He doesn't enjoy that. After Ronan has come back, I know we've talked about the separation anxiety. That's an ongoing issue that he has every time shortly after a visit. It usually dissipates over time. So right away when he comes back, like Joel explained, he doesn't want you to leave the room. He wants you to be in the room with him all the time, or you know, he wants you to be around him. And then, a new behavior that and the bedwetting, was a new behavior that, you know, he hasn't had issues with since potty training. And after the Christmas visit, he, wet the bed every night for a week. It did since stop, and that we haven't had issues since then, since around Christmas time. And then, an alarming new behavior, was him being super sensitive to any type of criticism, even if it is gentle or even if it is stern. Just simple things like, Ronan, please chew with your mouth closed at the table. Ronan, don't throw a Nerf gun at me. Things like that. Even if I do use if I start to use a stern voice, he runs and tells me he's scared when I talk to him like that. And that's some way that I've always talked to Ronan, that I've always dealt with issues with him. So it was kind of alarming to see him act that way. And I don't know where that came from, except for he had just come back from his dad's. So that's the only factor that changed in that situation. The other behavior that started showing up, same kind of situation, is when I would start to I guess, criticize him or try to correct his behaviors, because he's 6, he's still learning all kinds of things, and how to behave correctly. He started saying that when you talked,
So I don't want you to tell us what he said.
I'm gonna object. This is more of a narrative than a response to the question.
Well, I asked her,
She should answer specific questions.
I think she is answering my question, and I just told her not to provide hearsay testimony.
All right, go ahead.
I'll just leave it short and sweet. So he began self-harming, hitting himself in the head, and also putting himself down verbally, which was a brand new behavior, very alarming. I had no idea where that had come from, except for he had just gotten back from his dad's.
And when was that?
That was after the spring break visit.
And you had brought up the idea of starting therapy for Ronan to Mr. Taylor, correct?
Yes, I did.
And did Mr. Taylor respond?
No, I don't think he said anything about therapy.
And but you brought that up in an AppClose message,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
And did he provide any type of response?
No.
All right. Has Mr. Taylor told you, or did you know before this morning that he plans to buy a home in Rockford and move to Rockford?
No, he actually told me he was planning to buy a house in Caledonia.
When was that?
That was when we were discussing schools, and I had expressed that I wanted Ronan to go to Rockford schools.
Mr. Taylor, please stop. You're not, that is not appropriate. Shaking your head, all right? Your attorney will follow up when she has the opportunity. Go ahead, Ms. McClure.
All right, there was testimony at the couple of the previous evidentiary hearings regarding Mr. Taylor's drinking, and he had claimed that he was sober. Do you have any information about whether or not Mr. Taylor is maintaining sobriety?
The two things
I'm
are,
gonna object, Your Honor. First, there's really no foundation for how she knows this information and where she's getting it. And I would also object because in her objection, which she's limited to specific objections, all she said was a referee recommendation ignores plaintiff's admitted history of alcoholism. The fact he has no driver's license because of his past criminal record related to alcohol issues.
I think it's a permissible line of inquiry with the proper foundation being laid.
I think I need to have her answer the question before I can get to the foundation, Your Honor.
Yes.
sorry, would you mind?
That's
asking again?
okay. Yep, so do you have any information regarding whether Mr. Taylor has maintained sobriety?
On one phone call that I witnessed with Ronan, Mr. Taylor had said that it was Emma's open house and he had been cooking all day. And he repeated himself multiple times, the same thing to Ronan. And it appeared, or it sounded like he was slurring his words. I know Joel very well. I know when Joel has been drinking. And from my deduction, he had been drinking that day.
Okay, and when was that?
It was the 23rd of June.
Okay, so you said it was Emma's open house?
It was Emma, he mentioned it was Emma's open house.
Okay, so somebody
So
was
the day of that.
graduating, okay.
And say something.
Yes, was there any other time that you, had reason to believe that Mr. Taylor was not maintaining his sobriety?
May I refer to one of our evidentiary testimonies that someone.
Yes, I'm not sure what you're referring to. so-
Yeah, Judy Taylor had testified that she had been drinking with him a week before she testified that day
Sure,
in court.
okay, but since the evidence you're doing, that's the only,
Yeah.
okay. All right, just for clarification, the referee recommendation mentioned, that you had stopped cooperating with mediation after the first session. Is it accurate that you didn't cooperate with mediation at the second session?
No.
Okay, and were you open to mediation at that time?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Do you recall the testimony that you provided about, domestic violence in your relationship with Mr. Taylor?
So I recall, I remember the evidence that we submitted to try to prove that point. I don't,
Do you actually remember testifying about it at all?
I don't.
Okay. What is generally your experience when that topic is brought up? What happens to you when that
I'm
topic?
gonna object, Your Honor. I don't think that's relevant.
Where are you
think-
going with this, Ms. McClure?
I would argue that it is relevant as to her, her experience of, the discussion of domestic violence and, relating to her testimony that was given at the evidentiary hearing.
Was this evidence available at the time of the evidentiary hearing? 'Cause it seems to me this would have been the subject of redirect or recross or whatever. Oh, I guess it'd be redirect in your situation.
I think what I'm asking was not available at that time. And I can ask another question a different way and.
Okay.
Maybe we can be more clear. Do you feel that the testimony you provided, let me ask you this, did you read the transcripts from that hearing?
Yes, I have read them.
Okay, do you feel that your testimony, based on reviewing those transcripts, do you feel that your testimony fully described your actual experience?
I'm gonna object, Your Honor. I don't know what she's feeling or not feeling, but I don't think it's relevant to talk about whether changing her testimony now or supplementing it now because she knows that she wants to punch up her case and say that.
I'll sustain the objection.
Well, I'll just ask this then. Do you agree with the referee recommendation that there was nothing rising to the level of domestic violence in your relationship?
Absolutely not.
Okay. What are you asking the court to do today?
Relook at the order. I don't think that the order took into account any of my side of testimony. I think that they ignored a lot of our evidence and a lot of what we tried to bring up that were issues. A lot of those things are missing in the order or just totally ignored. And also, I think it heavily favors Joel and his testimony. It also looks at a lot of Joel's testimony that is untrue as truth, which I feel is unjust, unfair, and it's just incorrect, and also not fair to Ronan. I think this order, a big problem with it is that it is not looking at the best interest for Ronan, with continuity, with what had been, I don't think that Joel created a, burden of proof that things need to change from the way they were. I think the way they had been, the picture that was painted of the way things were is not the correct picture. And I think that's due to ignoring a lot of my testimony and just taking a lot of things that he said that I believe to be untrue as truth.
What schedule do you think the court should order?
I think that I'm the parent better suited for a school year. I think that it would be in Ronan's best interest to be with me for the school year. I do want him to also see Joel and be with Joel for a large chunk of time. So, you know, the majority of the summer, majority of the holidays, but having Ronan be in St. Louis for the school year, it's a great school for him. He does well there. I'm very well suited to help him with school. Also phone call schedules, as we discussed, I think should be adjusted. If this order were to stay in place, another issue is it doesn't take into account to my schedule that I testified to over and over again. It gives me Ronan on a time when I testified that I would be working, and makes it impossible for me to continue. We know that Joel only works one day a week and that his schedule is super flexible, super easy. He can travel super easy if he has all that extra time off, which is wonderful for him. And I'm glad that he's making a lot of money and able to provide having all that time off, but I unfortunately don't have that luxury. And this order makes it incredibly hard for me to see my child, have a relationship with my child, and also be able to provide for myself and for my child. I think that all needs to be taken into consideration. So I answer your question.
What frequency of phone calls do you think will be appropriate for the parent who does not have Ronan with them?
Days a week, one phone call a day, or at the very least 5 phone calls a week. Maybe there's 2 days that, you know, don't work, or, you know, you don't have to worry about schedule or being, you know, in present for that phone call, because it is difficult sometimes to, you know, you have activities and things. But yeah, more than 2 phone calls a week at the very least.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Ms. Coletti.
Thank you. Ms. Miller, you signed a new lease in May of 2024 after you received the referee's order?
Yeah,
Do you recall testifying that you were looking for a new home? When
I
you,
didn't, it's the same apartment, I renewed my lease.
do you recall testifying that you were looking for a new apartment that you?
No, and that, I'm actually very confused about that, because I didn't see in the transcripts and I didn't testify to that. I wasn't looking for a new home.
Okay, so Ronan still attends a school in your mother's district, correct?
He would if he was here, yes. It's a school district I attended, my brother attended. It's a wonderful school district. It's ranked number 4 out of over 500 in the state.
Well, if your lease was up, why didn't you move to that school district?
Because I established my residence where I was, and I wanted to continue to keep the continuity and the stability in my residence. I'm fine driving Ronan to school in that location. It was no issue for me last year, so I didn't see why we needed to change it. It worked really well last year.
Well, last year, when Ronan went to that school, he spent 3 or 4 nights at your mom's house because of your work schedule.
3 nights, because I work Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. Yes.
That changed, you had been working 4 nights and he was at your mom's house 4 nights, correct?
I don't think that's changed. I'm pretty sure my schedule has been the same. Possibly the first day of evidentiary hearing, my schedule may have been a little different. It does fluctuate sometimes, but it's been pretty much a set schedule for quite a while now. I'm the bartender I'm the lead bartender now. I've been there longer than anybody else, so I get my priority on schedule.
So you still work nights?
I do work Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, because those are the nights I make the most money.
Don't you also work a Wednesday day shift?
I work Tuesday and Wednesday day shifts, yes.
From when until when?
What was that?
From what time until what time, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yep, I come in at 10 a.m. and I leave between 3 and 4 p.m.
Okay, so you're not able to pick up Ronan from school that day, correct?
That's not correct. I usually am, like I said, I leave between 3 and 4 PM. So usually as long as I leave by 3:45 at the latest, I can pick Ronan up. If that's ever not the case and I'm not going to make it by 3:45, I'll usually know that around 3 o'clock. And I can alert my mom and she'll pick him up from school and then I will pick him up from her, or she'll drive him to my work and we'll exchange him there. We've had the process down, it's pretty fluid.
Your mom lives 45 minutes from your apartment, correct?
I would say that's with traffic, I would say between 35 and 45 minutes, yes.
Okay. And how far is it from your work to the school?
Actually only 15 minutes.
Okay, so you still rely on your mother to provide about 50% of the care for Ronan?
No, not at all, not 50%. She watches him on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. And I have him, sorry, what was that?
3 days out of 7.
Yeah,
And she helps you on Tuesday, Wednesday, correct?
no, she doesn't help on Tuesday, Wednesday at all.
She doesn't have to help you with pick up and drop off from school?
No, unless, like I testified just now, if for some reason I'm not going to be done by 4 PM.
Okay, so how often does that happen?
Not often.
You don't know?
I said not often does it happen.
You can't tell me specifically or how many times a week that might happen?
So, sorry, will you rephrase what your exact question is? I'm sorry.
You said Tuesday and Wednesday don't happen often, that she's got to pick him up from school. How often? Was it once a week or twice, 3 times a month? How often did you have to rely on your mom?
Maybe 2 times a month on Tuesday or Wednesdays, would I have to rely on my mom just to pick Ronan up from school on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then either bring him to my work, so she's there right when I'm done, and then I take him from her, or bring him directly to her house, and I leave and come to her house directly after work. So that's the only time on Tuesday or Wednesday that I require her help.
Okay, and the rest of the time you're not working on Monday?
I always have Sundays and Mondays off. Our restaurant is closed on Sundays and Mondays.
Okay, you said you use the app Close for video calls?
Yes, ma'am.
And prior to April, you said the calls were at 4:24, 4:35?
Yes, ma'am.
You remember that your mom said that she was doing most of the calls?
So we were talking about,
Yeah, so I guess let everybody back in, please.
All right, can you make me co-host? Because I think you popped back before I did.
Oh,
So I can't
Okay.
see anybody.
yep, let me I'll make you host. Well, if I do
Or make
that,
me host.
let me make you co-host, because if I make you host, then you'll have to. Is that okay?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, because otherwise you're gonna have to go back and make me co-host again. So,
All right. I will admit everyone. We're
All
still
right.
on the record.
hello again. We're back on the record in the matter of Taylor versus Miller. Apparently our internet down here at the courthouse completely just dropped us. So I don't know how far you got before you realized we were gone, but
Thank you, I can restart. So
okay.
asking you, your mother testified that she did the majority of the calls because she had him the majority of the time?
I do not believe that was testified. If it was,
I think, sorry, you're gonna have to back up a little more, Ms. Coletti, because when we lost connection, the last thing I heard was about the pickup from school.
Oh, okay, let me go back.
All right, thank you.
So you are able to pick up the child from school on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, correct?
yes, ma'am.
But how often does your mother have to do it for you?
Usually once every other week, so around 2 times a month.
Is that on Tuesdays or Wednesdays? You always have to let her know.
Yeah, it would be either Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and I usually let her know by 3 PM. That's kind of our system.
Okay, if your mom wasn't available, what would you do?
I would leave work and I would neglect my work duties, to leave and come get Ronan. Usually it's not, it's not like I'm out of hospitals or anything. It's usually extra side work that I'm doing to kind of get out of there and finishing up guests as a transition. But if I had to leave, I have other people there at that time that I would just say, sorry, I'm leaving, I have to go. I have done that and I would continue to do that if I needed to. And I don't see an issue with my mom picking up Ronan. I just prefer to pick him up if I can. I enjoy that time. It's fun to pick him up. It's nice. It's nice to do that, but I mean, I don't see there being any problem at all with my mom who lives 5 minutes from the school, picking him up from school and bringing him to me at work, or me meeting her at her house with Ronan still around 4 p.m.
Okay, so the days that you spend with him then are, if when school's in session, are just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
No, Sunday I have all day off. Monday I have all day off, so I spend those days with him. I also spend Tuesday and Wednesday with him. I take him to school every day, so every morning. So for example, let's say he stays with my mom Thursday night while I'm at work. I go there Friday morning to wake him up and get him ready for school and bring him to school. Sometimes I'm out early enough on one of those nights, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, where I can get him. It is late and right around bedtime. But sometimes I can get him in time to bring him to my house and have him go to bed there. Sorry, does that answer your question, Ms. Clutty?
Yes, we'll just move on. So with regard to the calls, your mom, when he was with your mom mostly, Joel testified he called your mom to talk to Ronan, correct?
Yeah, so at first, when I did start this job, I did work more nights. That is very true. And my schedule also fluctuated a lot more. Like I said, now that I have been there for 2 years, I'm a lead, I'm in a lead position. I have a set schedule, I have priority on my schedule. But when I first started, I did have to work more nights than I do now. And so my mom did have to make more phone calls. The norm now, and how it's been for since the last school year, pretty much. My mom does have him Thursday and Friday after school. And so she would be the ones making the phone calls with Joel on those days for sure. And then again, sometimes if she's meeting me at work, or if I'm picking him up from her, that time that Joel calls is like right around that phone call time. That's the time that he picked, that he wanted. And it is actually kind of a big stressor for my mom and I, making sure that we make sure Joel has his phone call and that we can coordinate things so that Ronan can be present for that phone call.
Okay, you recall that there was a concern that you didn't have him up and ready to receive his phone calls in the morning?
Yeah, this was before Ronan started kindergarten, when that was an issue. It was one instance when Joel blew up at me through the phone call that he had with Ronan, told Ronan that I was a bad mom.
Okay, I didn't ask you that question. I just asked.
I was just explaining what had happened in that situation. I'm sorry.
Yes, you strike what was non-responsive.
Granted.
Thank you. So you said Joel only calls about 50% of the time?
I didn't say that. I said he only calls at the right time 50% of the time. Sorry, or at least that's what I meant to say. I'm sorry if that was misunderstood.
Okay, but he does usually call every day, or let you know if he's gonna call a different time?
Not usually, that wouldn't be the norm, no. If he's going, there is quite often also where if he's going to call at a different time, or if he's not gonna call, sometimes he does let us know, and we're really appreciative. Times we just don't even hear from him, or he, messages us after the phone call time and says, when can I call? I would say the norm is for that to be half of the time, yes.
Okay, you said Ronan's not ready for your calls 25% of the time.
No, I said only 25% of the time at best is he ready for the phone calls.
Well, what do you mean that he's not ready? How is he not ready?
Yeah, so this summer, one time, they were on a boat when I called. Their boat had broken down or ran out of gas during my phone call time. Another time, they didn't answer and called me back because they were riding bikes. Again, these are all fine because this happens to me too sometimes. Time gets away from you. You have a 6-year-old to take care of, and he's your priority. So sometimes, that happens. There was one time when Ronan was riding his motorized, Jeep. The entire time I had a phone call with him. Would you like me to keep going?
Well, what you're saying is that you agree that it's important to be flexible because as a 6-year-old, and things happen, like if a boat breaks down, he's not being malicious in denying you parenting time or that phone call, correct?
I agree. I think the flexibility and grace should be held for both sides. Yes.
So he's not denying you your calls. You're not putting a movie in front of Ronan so he doesn't pay attention to you, correct?
Well, actually, that's not true. Last night when I had my phone call with Ronan, he was watching Transformers on the TV.
Did Joe turn off the TV or did you ask him to?
I did not ask Joel. I actually couldn't hear Ronan for most of the time. It kept cutting out. Joel often gets really bad service on his end, which again is out of his control and I'm totally understanding about. I try to just talk to Ronan as much as I possibly can. But no, it was fine. I understood the TV was on. They live in a house with a bunch of people around all the time, so it's not really realistic for the TV to be turned off. They always have it on. I know that because I used to live there.
But he has Ronan sit down and encourages him to pay attention to you, correct?
Sometimes, yes. That is not the norm though.
Okay. With regard to your summer parenting time, in June, you had the 10 days that ended, I believe, June 28th?
That sounds correct.
Okay, so you took him to the doctor on the 27th?
Yes.
And that doctor, you knew at that time that he didn't have his Asthma-Nex?
Ronan didn't have his Asthma-Nex. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I set up the appointment, and also because I think due to not having the Asthma-Nex and also the virus that I think he had, his asthma symptoms were exacerbated. And I wanted to get Ronan into the doctor before he left and went back to Michigan.
But Joel let you know he forgot the Asthma-Nex when you picked him up, correct?
No, so I think Joel was actually referring to a different time when he had let me know that he was not going to be sending out Buterol. I was not aware that Joel was not sending the Asthma-Nex. It just wasn't there.
Well, didn't you text him about getting a new prescription in your app post messages?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
You were trying to get a new prescription for him, correct, down in Missouri?
Yeah, yes,
And they didn't have it, correct?
yes.
So didn't they give him a Q-bar, a different medication?
So they tried to prescribe him Q-bar and we had the same issue with Q-bar that we had with Asthma-Nex. So since we couldn't get the Q-bar, we then got an inhaler that actually has the same active ingredient as Flonase. His doctor, that's his primary doctor, Dr. Smith, says that she doesn't want him taking both Flonase and I'm sorry that I don't know the name, fluctuates maybe, I'm not sure. She doesn't really want him taking both those medicines at the same time. She doesn't think that's very effective, but that was what Dr. Remus decided was the plan of action since we could not get our hands on the Asthma-Nex or the Q-bar. And Dr. Remus is the doctor that said we should get rid of the cats.
Okay, and Joe wanted you to encourage you to get rid of the cats, correct?
Yes, he made that very clear to me.
Yeah, he said, a doctor legitimately said get rid of cats. This is on page 73 of the app close messages. 627 and 1238. He's gonna be crushed. Correct?
Yes, that sounds about right. I don't see that about.
And then you didn't really respond to that. You just said, based on your conversation with Dr. Remus, is there anything else that you need me to send besides albuterol inhaler and spacer and prednisone?
Sorry, let me find the exact line. I mean, we discussed him seeing an allergist because I think we both agree that's important. No one can actually say it's an allergy to cats until he sees an allergist.
And Joel said, I'm willing to pay for an allergist to get him in sooner, correct?
Yes,
And with regard to hair, you asked if you should send the hair product to Ronan's hair so he can spike it, style it how he likes.
yeah,
And so you're communicating about hair and medication, and that was correct. That wasn't an issue.
no,
All right, you testified that you don't respond to Joel Summers because it has a harassive demeanor, or you take his text as harassive.
yes, I did testify that, yes.
Are any of these texts after December harassive to you?
Yes, there are a few. There's one in particular about the Kindle. Let me find that one. If you would like me to find it, where he tells me he was upset about the Kindle. I found that to be. Oh, well, this is kind of, I mean, I think, I know Joel and I know when he's trying to be underhandedly. There's one text that says, on 5/27, I feel the same way based on me having to sue you for custodial rights of my son and having to go through 2 mediations to get to see my son and force you to let me talk to my son on a regular basis. I will not agree to anything until I discuss it with a lawyer. I'm sure you can understand. I will call and discuss it with her tomorrow and see what she thinks. That's when actually we talked about phone calls. I never heard anything back about having extra phone calls.
Well, it is true that you moved to Missouri and Joel didn't get to see his son for a year.
That's actually not true.
When did he see his son?
On video calls and 10 months after I moved, yes.
Okay, and isn't it true he didn't get to see his son until after the first mediation when we finally agreed because you wanted to have him be supervised by his mom? And he agreed to that just so he could see his son?
I mean,
I'm gonna object because that's a series of about 5 or 6 questions that were asked.
I don't think so.
sorry, okay.
Yeah, I would say that's a compound question, so maybe you should break that down.
All right, so he saw him 10 months after you moved. Even though you had sent a text that was admitted at the last hearing that he could have him at Christmas and he didn't, correct?
Isn't that from the last, are we allowed to talk about that?
Your attorney will, as I've said before, your attorney will make any objections. That's not your role.
Okay, sorry, could you read me what the text said?
So you moved in August and you said he could see him at Christmas, correct?
Yes, I did. I was expecting him to communicate effectively with me about what his plan was with that and how we could make that work. But I constantly and met with resistance whenever I propose a plan about how that would go. That happened when I lived there and that continued to happen. I honestly no longer knew how to effectively handle that communication with Joel. I tried my best to communicate rationally and make plans with him, and it was never good enough and never worked. And that continued until mediation.
You came back in August to do an event, and that's when Joel was supposed to get his son, and you didn't let him see him that whole week, correct?
Well, actually, Joel refused to take him on the day that.
I'm gonna object to this line of questioning because this was rehashed many, many times.
I will sustain. I believe I can read the transcript myself.
All right, so moving forward then, with regard to the order for summer parenting time, you had him June until June 28th, correct, for that 10 days?
Yeah, yes.
And then you would arrange for later in July and coming up for the 4th of July, correct?
Well, we had originally arranged for that and it was my understanding that Joel agreed to that. However, when I picked Ronan up the first day of my June visit, within, I think I said 10-15 minutes, I'm sure it's documented in ACTCLOS, right after I received Ronan, he sent me a very upsetting message saying that he no longer agreed to that. In my opinion, that's something he does quite often to try to elicit a response from me to make me upset. He was trying to ruin my time with Ronan is what it seemed like. Why else?
Wait, he was letting you know that he was gonna be at the camper, and if you wanted to see him, he was gonna see cousins that he doesn't usually see, but if you want to see him for the 4th, he could meet you in Michigan, correct?
I'm sorry, what's your
For the 4th of
question?
July visit, you were gonna come to Michigan and just see him on the 4th, correct?
So what we had initially agreed was that I would come to Michigan to spend my 4th of July holiday with Ronan in Michigan, while also him still allowing me to have my 10 days that were, I think, July 14th through 24th. That is our.
Thank you. And you changed your mind, isn't that correct?
No, not at all.
Well, when he offered to let you take the child come up for the 4th and then come for the 10 days, you said no, and you insisted, even though you picked him up on the 28th, you came and got him on the 1st again, even though you said today that Ronan hates the travel. Do you remember?
Wait, I'm sorry, what's your question, Miss Claudie?
You testified that Ronan hates the travel,
Yes,
but you insisted on picking up like a weekend after you had him in, ended June, which ended June 28th, but you insisted on coming for him like 3 days later for your July.
well, I would argue that I also recommended that Joel just not pick him up and let him stay there instead of doing that extra travel back and forth.
But you wouldn't compromise either, correct?
That's not true. I did compromise and he basically took it.
I just need you to answer yes or no. I asked you if you compromised, you think you compromised.
Yes, I do think I compromised, Miss Claudia. I'm very sorry.
When did you have Tim move into your apartment?
When I signed my new lease, so May 2024,
And does he ever watch Ronan?
he does, yes.
And you're aware of his prior PPO against him?
I'm gonna object to that, Your Honor. That is not in evidence today.
Well, I can ask her if she's aware of it.
Overruled.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Did that PPO get extended in 2024?
I believe so, yes.
So he currently has a PPO against him.
Yes,
And who's the person who's the petitioner?
that would be his ex-girlfriend.
Okay, and you got 2 kittens instead of 1?
Yes,
And you said even though he is allergic to cats and has to be on meds for it?
Objection, she did not testify that.
Oh. Is Ronan allergic to cats?
I don't know. I don't think anyone knows until he sees an allergist.
Okay, do you get shots for the cats?
Did I immunize that? Did I get shots for the cats?
Do you currently receive allergy shots for cats?
No,
Do you receive shots then for, you said you're allergic to grass, do you receive shots for grass?
not currently, no.
But you have received shots in the past for allergies?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on page 74 of the close messages, you were aware that you forgot the script, you were gonna try to get a new one, correct?
Yes, I'm aware of that. I'm not sure how that pertains to here, but yeah.
Okay, and then with regard to the portal, you said he changed it and didn't tell you, but he let the doctor know that he's custodial parent pursuant to the April order here in Michigan.
Objection, Your Honor. My client doesn't have personal information regarding that.
Well, she testified that he changed the.
What's the question, Miss Claudie?
Okay, how do you know that he's the one that changed the portal instead of the doctor's office?
Yeah, well, two things. I talked to the doctor's office and they told me that Joel changed it, not them. 2, I saw the thread that they had sent me, and in the thread, it tells you every time somebody changes the primary contact info and who changed it. And it had said Joel's phone number changed the primary contact info to Joel's phone number.
Well, you agreed that at that point he was custodial parent, correct?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
At that point, he was custodial parent for the order of April.
Well, I thought we still have joint custody, so we're both,
Physical custody is with him, correct?
well, yes, according to the order, physical custody is with him, yeah.
You still have access to that portal, don't you?
I do now, I didn't at that time, no.
How did you not have access to the portal?
They don't use it very often. I had to stay there for 15 minutes after Ronan's appointment to try to get me access to the portal. I didn't even know it existed. Usually I just talk to the doctors and they give me all the information that I need.
So you never previously logged onto the portal?
No, I hadn't.
Okay.
But, sorry, may I say something about the portal?
No. Now, you said that Joe wasn't respectful about the cat issue. How was he not respectful?
Well, I tried to, well, one, he said, she straight up said it was the cats. I just don't think that was a professional way to handle that. And also, I mean, he didn't really, in my opinion, it just seems like another way for him to control me, to not have to control what pets I have. I don't think that he.
There's not a question. Wouldn't you agree he's concerned about his son, since he's got severe allergies to cats? That was a concern about his son as opposed to trying to control you?
If I'm being honest, I really don't think he's concerned about the cats because of Ronan. If, then he would have been giving him his medicine and sent back the proper medicine prior to that doctor visit.
Have you never forgotten to send medicine?
No, I, not to my knowledge, and not that Joel has let me know that I have. I do forget things.
You've
I
never
agree.
forgot, wait, you've never forgotten anything as it relates to Ronan? Like, forget to send a swimsuit, forgot his shoes?
Objection, Your Honor, I don't know how this is relevant.
I'm asking her if she ever forgot anything.
I think it's an appropriate question.
I mean, yeah, I have forgotten shoes. I think that's very different, and so has Joel. But I haven't forgotten medication, which is very important and very different than shoes.
Okay, but this is the first time that Joel had to send, because you had him previously. And the other times you're in Grand Rapids, so you didn't need to worry about exchanging meds, correct?
No, that's not true. We did need to worry about exchanging meds in Grand Rapids. I mean, that's not the first time.
All right, thank you. With regard to, you said he's minded his P's and Q's since April of 2024. Can you show me what texts are harassive or not appropriate communication with you?
Yes, do you mind giving me a minute to find them?
Go ahead.
I'm looking for a text about a Kindle shortly after Christmas time.
Oh, okay, I'm asking you after April of 2024.
And I'm sorry, I meant yes, ma'am.
While she's looking, I'll just give you an update on your time. Ms. Coletti, you're at 55 minutes. Ms. McClure, you've used 1 hour and 13.
Thank you.
Oh, so currently I'm looking up,
Okay, I'm gonna point you to August 5th of 2024, where he said he wants to bring his Kindle for the car ride. Do you remember that? That's on page 82.
yeah, I do remember that.
He
That's
said, do
not
not
really-
erase or change anything. I have set up on it and send it back, please. Is that harassing or not appropriate?
No, that was nice. But then I responded, as long as you don't have the GPS on there and there's age appropriate content. And then what was his response?
He said, well, you asked for that and he said, I have it set how I want it. If you don't want him to have it, just tell him when I drop him off. So he's saying if you don't want it, the way he's got it set, then he wouldn't send it. Isn't that correct?
But I wasn't saying that. I just said that he needs to make sure there's no.
Question is, he responded appropriately, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't insist on sending and didn't say, I'm gonna send it the way I want. He said, if you don't want it, I won't send it.
Well, I think he wasn't being reasonable and like negotiable with me because I said, okay, can you please make sure the GPS is turned off and there is only age appropriate contact? His response was, no, I have it set how I want it. If you want him to have it, just tell him when I drop it off. Not a big deal to me. I don't want him to bring it, he does. I don't think that's a very adult way or rational way of handling that situation, because I don't think it's unreasonable for me to ask that the GPS be turned off and there to be age appropriate content on the Kindle that my 6-year-old is using.
So that's what you think, correct?
Yes, that's what I think.
You never responded that to him though, correct? You never ever brought up the Kindle again after that, after he said, I won't send it if you don't want it.
No, because
Okay, so you didn't communicate with him about that you want him to have the Kindle? Or you didn't try to cooperate with him about what, how he could use the Kindle?
I didn't want to argue with him and feed into his telling me his control. I have found that me responding to these type of texts only end up in me feeling upset and feeling like I'm being controlled, so I just ignore it instead.
Well, you've historically ignored a lot of his texts, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't respond a lot of times, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You still don't respond, correct?
Yeah, I respond if it is something important regarding to Ronan, always, in my opinion. I do not respond if I feel like I'm just feeding into a trap or, you know, I'm sorry, Miss Coletti, I need to take in my experience, when I feel like Joel is trying to be controlling to me, personally, through Ronan, I do not find that we get anywhere productive if I respond.
All right, but he usually says thank you, correct?
No,
Really? On August 7th, he wrote a TY. Doesn't that mean thank you?
he can't even write out thank you. And, I mean, just because he said thank you once doesn't mean he historically says thank you.
Well, there's other times when he said please and thank you about sending things for Ronan, like not opening his gifts and like letting him open his gifts in front of the video call, not when you get them.
Oh yeah, could you read that out loud, that message? Or, sorry, you're asking me questions, not, I just wanted,
You do recall that, correct? Where he said please and thank you, asking you not to open presents unless he's on the video call.
I shouldn't have to say this, but I do. If I ever send anything for Ronan, it is for me to watch him open on our call, not for you to. Please and thank you. Just because you say something that is not nice and you add please and thank you doesn't change the content and make it nice.
All right.
In my opinion, I'm sorry.
I understand that's your opinion. Did you tell Joel that you were having Tim cut Ronan's hair?
You mean, did I ask Joel or
Inform him? Did you let him know before Tim cut his hair?
I did not, but I wasn't aware that I needed to let Joel know who is cutting Ronan's hair.
But it changed his appearance, correct?
I changed his hair, yes, which is part of his appearance.
Okay. With regard to Joel, with regard to Ronan, and you said his self-harm of hitting himself in the head after you talked sternly to him. Now you've spanked him before, correct?
When he, like, before age 3,
Okay, but you don't spank him now?
no.
And that's the agreement you have with Joel?
I don't spank him because I don't think it's right to spank kids at his age. He now is at the cognitive ability to understand right from wrong, understand all of my words when I try to explain to him what are unfavorable behaviors. When a child is only 2, their cognitive abilities are much lower than they are.
Thank you. I don't need you to go into this explanation. That's an agreement you had with Joel, correct? To not spank Ronan.
I wasn't aware that's an agreement that I had with Joel, no.
You don't recall his testimony that was an agreement you had? You testified that you knew that, but you still spanked him. It's in the transcript. Judge will read it. That's fine.
So why,
I was gonna say, we only have 7 minutes left, so, and I think Ms. McClure should have the opportunity to follow up.
Well, with regard to self-harm, did you ever inform Joel of that?
I'm not sure if I did inform Joel about that, no, but I did bring up therapy, which is something that I think should be explored in there.
Okay, with regard to the drinking on July 23rd, was the child with you, correct?
Yes,
And you just, that he was doing a video call, but you don't know whether he's drinking or not.
I mean, I did not see Joel drink.
Okay, and you said, the referees, say that you stopped cooperating with mediation, but you didn't stop. Are you sure you're not the one that refused to go to another mediation?
Are you talking about after mediation?
Yeah, after mediation, didn't you refuse to do another mediation session?
I did not refuse a mediation session after we finished mediation.
And you were asking for 5 calls a week?
I think that is much more reasonable than 2 calls a week, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. No other questions.
All right, Ms. McClure.
Thank you. On June 27th, Joel, Mr. Taylor stated to you, when you were discussing the allergy or the doctor visit and the medications, he said, I'm going to call some other allergists and just pay for him to be seen sooner. This is ridiculous. It's very obvious what is going on. A doctor legitimately said get rid of cats. He's going to be crushed. You really should have had him play with some cats at someone's house first. You know he has bad allergies and asthma. Did he ever call an allergist, to your knowledge?
Not to, sorry, yes, he told me that he could not set up appointments until October, both in St. Louis and in Michigan.
Okay, so did he schedule an appointment with an allergist in Michigan?
I'm not aware.
Okay, so if he
or
did,
not.
he didn't tell you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and regarding the conversation on scheduling, for July, when you said that he contacted you just a few minutes after you've gotten Ronan, was that on June 19th?
Yes,
So this text message exchange on page 70 where he says, what makes more sense is for the last 7 days of July and first 10 of August, so he can settle in for school on the 24th. Is that the message you're referring to where he says, where he's changing his mind?
Actually, it's before that, when he said, the lawyer says, if you have him for 4th of July, you can only have him for 7 days at the end of July. That is
Okay.
what he had said to me.
Okay.
It's the first message, I think, after I picked him up.
Okay. And did you ask him a question about, on the 19th, were you asking him about the schedule and did he respond?
Yeah, I believe he responded.
I'm looking at page 70. I guess this is your only conversation you had about it, right? There was no other verbal conversation about this?
No,
Okay, so the judge can read it. All right, what happens, all right, just to clarify about the spanking. When you say there was no agreement, do you mean that you don't agree or do you mean that you never discussed it?
I don't personally remember discussing spanking with Joel anytime recently because I think that's kind of a non-issue. Maybe when we lived together, we had discussed that. And we both agreed we both were on the same mindset that spanking was not a good way to discipline our child. Okay. There's nothing that I like signed a contract and said I will never spank Ronan.
Has Mr. Taylor made any decisions about Ronan? Other than, you testified about him changing the contact information of the doctor. Has he made any decisions about Ronan and without discussing with you first?
Well, his school that he's going to, I expressed my opinion and then the next thing I heard is just, this is where he's going to school. Also, I mean, moving Ronan out of his home to a different home and then not telling me where he moved at all. I mean, obviously Joel can live wherever he wants as long as Ronan is safe, but I had to try to figure out from Ronan if Joel had moved or not, and actually pretty far into when I believed him to have been moved, Ronan thought that Joel still lived at his old house and he thought that his toys were still there, and Ronan was very confused. The medicine, yeah,
Did Mr. Taylor tell you about the dentist appointment?
no.
Did you learn about it before today?
The way I learned about it is Ronan told me about the dentist appointment.
Okay, so Ronan told you I went to the dentist with that?
Yeah. He also lost a tooth that day, and it turned out, and I sent him a card immediately. And I found out later after I had sent the card that he actually lost 2 teeth that day. And the only thing that matters is that I sent money from the tooth fairy, and it would have been nice to know that he lost 2 teeth instead of just 1.
Mr. Taylor will learn how to communicate better, or do you think, is he gonna do better if he continues to have Ronan primarily, and you have Ronan last?
I honestly think that he wants to use this as a way to punish me. I don't think he's gonna communicate better or easier. I think it's going to be much harder for me to communicate with Mr. Taylor with him having this power of full custody. I don't want to look at it that way, because but I've known the man for very many years. It's hard to change certain things. I don't think that will change.
So when Mr. Taylor told you that he had Ronan enrolled at Explorers Elementary, did he inform you about the first day of school, orientation, what teacher you got assigned to, things like that?
He did not inform me about anything. I sought that information out myself.
Okay, so you contacted Captain Explorer Academy and they gave you information?
They actually did it. They needed me to provide proof that I was, that I had any, in order to get any kind of information. It was a little difficult for me to find that.
So they didn't have a record of you being his parent in their file?
No.
All right, I'm gonna end it there to preserve a couple minutes, maybe.
All right, Ms. Clutty?
Thank you. So you said before you were going to move back to Michigan if you didn't have custody of Ronan, correct?
I was forced to make to testify something and have an answer. I think that's a very in-depth answer and decision with many layers. I did testify that though, because I wasn't sure what else to say at that moment.
Okay, and with regard to the school, Joe let you know what school he did sign him up for pursuant to the order, correct?
On August 2nd or August 3rd, which I believe is when he enrolled Ronan in that school, that's when he let me know that he had already enrolled him, yes.
All right, and then with regard to not getting information, they just wanted to verify your custody as opposed to you don't know if you're listed as a contact person or as his mother, correct? Did you see the information forms that you fill out?
No,
Okay, but they just, before they're giving you information about a child or in the school, they want to verify that you have a right to it, correct?
did they do that for Joel?
I'm asking you the question.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so do you know if she'll put you down as a contact person or as his mother?
I believe he didn't because they told me they couldn't give me that information unless I had custody information for them.
Well, you don't know for sure, correct? You didn't see it, you don't know, you didn't ask.
Well, I just know how the school works and I don't know why they would question me if he had told them that they could release that information to me.
You enrolled Ronan in your mom's school district, you didn't list Joe as a parent, did you?
I did list Joel as a parent. I did not connect him with any of the information that I thought he would be able to find on his own. And I let Joel know recently, all he needs to do is ask if there's something from me that he needs. I just need him to ask me because I don't always know what he's missing. And vice versa, I've been trying to ask him, but I still feel like I'm getting pushed back.
Thank you. No other questions.
Ms. McClure,
I have nothing further.
all right. Any further witnesses?
No, thank you.
All right. Statements. Ms. Coletti, I believe you went first, so.
No, Ms. McClure went first.
Oh, sorry.
Somebody first.
Your Honor.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I think that the testimony has been pretty consistent today. With a lot of the testimony that was presented before, with some more nuance. That there had been domestic violence in their relationship and has not been enough evidence presented to change Ronan's, what Ronan had been used to, which is being in the primary care of Ms. Miller. Mr. Taylor has sort of been given this opportunity to show how he's going to parent if he has primary custody, and he has not done a good job. He has not consulted with Ms. Miller. He, I don't know if anything in these AppClose messages could be considered harassive, but they are definitely demanding. He tells her what to do. He does not ask or try to have a conversation, signs her up for a school that is not technically the elementary school in his district. There is no busing. There was no consultation with Ms. Miller about that decision. Took the kid to the dentist without even telling her. She finds things out from her child. He complains about her not having Ronan ready for phone calls and then doesn't respect her and have him ready for phone calls during her time. So I definitely fear how this is going to continue to snowball, because it does feel that Mr. Taylor wants to punish Ms. Miller. It does not seem that, I'm sure he loves his child. I have no doubt of that. Of course he loves his child. They both do. But what is relevant is the best interest. And in the referee's recommendation, it weighed heavily on her decision to move. And that was just the hue over everything. Instead of considering each best interest factor individually, it all came back to, well, she moved, so she should be punished. And I feel like that is what Mr. Taylor is really seeking. She moved, she should be punished. And that is not fair given that Ms. Miller had custody of this child when she moved. Under Michigan law, they were not married and she had custody of this child. She had every right to do that. In retrospect, would she have done things differently? Probably. However, we are where we are. This child has been going to school in Missouri, for 2 years in St. Louis. There is an established custodial within environment with Ms. Miller. There's no dispute of that. And the best interests of this child are to remain with her. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Colletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, I don't believe Ms. Taylor, either in her, I'm sorry, Ms. Miller, in her objection or in her testimony today, has really stated with any particularity why it's not in the child's best interest, other than he lived with her for 20 months. She's talked about things, but these are normal child behaviors acting out. There's really no evidence that the child's best interest would be served being returned to her. I think that Referee Kessler did find that Ms. Miller had an established custodial environment, and therefore Mr. Taylor had to meet the burden of proof by clear and convincing. And I believe if you look at the transcript and her order, referee took into consideration the application of the law, which I don't believe Ms. Miller has stated how the application of law was not appropriate, other than saying that she's got an established custodial environment, which referee did find. And I don't believe that she's failed to state with any particularity what her objections were to the order, and how it relates to the child's best interest. I think today's testimony just shows that this was a contentious relationship. She chose to move to Missouri. She chose to not let Mr. Taylor have any contact with the child for 10 months. We thought it was a year. And we only got that after we went to mediation, Your Honor, after Mr. Taylor hired me. Testifies that she thought he might have been drunk at the open house, or that after that event, but the child wasn't with him, and the order says there's no drinking around the child. There's no evidence that he's drinking around the child. He's actively working on getting his driver's license back. With regard to the domestic violence, I believe you'll see in the transcript that there was a lot of testimony about that, and about the fact that she's the one that hit Mr. Taylor as opposed to him hitting her, and that it was always the swearing and she said there was some shoving, but it was a mutual shoving. There was never an issue of domestic violence when they were together. I think it's interesting to note that she's currently with a man who has a PPO against him. I would assume it's probably because the petitioner is afraid of him. She claimed in her objection the route and out lies about missing calls, but she really didn't provide any specific evidence of the missed calls or that she's there. She only testified that she was there for 50% of the calls, but her mother testified that that Joel only missed 2 out of 7 days. So I think that even her allegations about why it's in the child's best interest don't comport with the testimony she gave at the hearing or her witness, her mother. So I would ask Your Honor to deny this, to affirm the referee's findings in fact and the order, and continue the current custody with Mr. Taylor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will take this under advisement and I will get a decision out to you as soon as I can. There is one ahead of you. All right, thank you. We're adjourned.